Ladies and gentlemen,
What you gonna do, brother?
oh yeah!
Woo! What? What?
If you smell what the rock,
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to Saturday night around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Albowski. He is Professor Keith, and the Little Albowski will be joining us within the next 20-30 minutes. He is on his way. Thanks for coming and spending some time with us. We do not have a guest tonight, as I said earlier on Facebook Live. Also, we do have a guest tomorrow, Keith, at 6 p.m. We have Ja Cole from WXW fame, and he's working the indie circuit like everybody else, trying to make this his career. And I can't wait to talk to him about the Wild Samoans, about Samu, and everything's going on in WXW. We already got comments flying in. We're gonna have a GOAT special tonight, guys. And what's up, Big Joe Dudley in the house? How you doing, Joe? Thanks for joining us. We are talking GOATs tonight, Keith, because this past Sunday, a certain GOAT that most people hate won his 7th Super Bowl. And with that in mind, I figured we'd talk some WWE GOATs now. Before you guys all come at me with your Ric Flairs and Harlem Heats of the world, please, or ECW or any of that nonsense. We are talking strictly WWE. All right?
ECW is not nonsense.
What's that?
ECW is not nonsense.
I'm not calling ECW nonsense. I'm saying don't come at me with your nonsense pertaining to ECW. That sound better?
Correct Big Al in the comments, everyone.
Okay, gotcha. Anyway, we will do, like, next time we don't have a guest, I was talking to Keith pre-show that we are going to do a complete show about ECW because it deserves it. But tonight we're talking WWE GOATs. And with that in mind, I compiled all day. I compiled 3 lists of the 3 major titles since WWF/WWE has existed, which are the Intercontinental, the Tag Team Champions, and the WWE Champion. Not the World Champion, not the Universal Champion, not the United States Champion or Cruiserweight Champion. Not that they're irrelevant. It's just that we only have an hour. So once I get Keith going. What's that?
Some of them are irrelevant, and some of them are defunct.
Right. And some of them are defunct, and yeah, I mean, you know, so
the same.
We're gonna talk strictly Intercontinental, Tag Team, and WWE, and at the very end, I'll reveal a list of the GOAT of GOATs, which does include superstars from other organizations besides WWE. Because I thought it was relevant to talk about the GOAT of GOATs, meaning the top 5 guys that have won the most titles in any of the 3 major organizations, WWE, WCW, and ECW. But, well, because, I mean, AEW is a new thing. So with all respect to AEW, it's not like they've had a champion for any longer than 2 years because they've only been existed for that long. So my point is that don't come at me with all that. We're talking just WWE. Let's have some fun with it. And let's get Keith riled up because that's what we love to do around here. How you doing, Keith?
Anyway.
What was that?
It's all subjective anyway, because I mean
it's all subjective.
Because the problem is yes, in sports you can use, and also too, I think wrestling has the same problem to some degree as baseball does when you try to determine the greatest of all time. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but football is essentially football from the start to now. It's just kind of a change in how the game is played, but the rules never really changed or anything like that, right?
Right.
So it's easier to say, hey, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time because I can compare him to every other quarterback, because every other quarterback that ever played essentially the same game, the same rules, da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Baseball's harder because when you start talking about, like, who's the greatest hitter, people would say, well, Babe Ruth. Okay, but you have But wait a minute, Babe Ruth came along right after the dead ball era, where they changed a lot of the rules. They changed how pitchers could pitch.
Yep.
So it wasn't a pitcher's game necessarily anymore, because after the Black Sox scandal, everybody was looked around and said, like, holy shit, you just need the pitcher and like 2 fielders in the bag, and you can screw an entire baseball game. We got to fix that. So then it's harder to do, and I think wrestling is similar because the audience tastes change, what is acceptable changes, and a guy who is, perfect for his time and is the greatest of his time might not fly now, and vice versa. Some of the stuff that goes on now, if they go back 20, 30 years, they're never getting on TV because everybody will beat the shit out of them in the locker room for exposing the business. So,
all right. So Anthony Joseph's already running his mouth. He wants to end the show right now and say, I'll wrap the show up for you real quick and say Stone Cold Steve Austin, thanks, good night, folks. Problem is, Anthony, I don't want to wrap the show up after 6 minutes. I don't know about you. Phil McDevitt, well, dang, Mean Mark Callis couldn't count, although he had a great WWE career. Well, there you go.
And that's also part of it too, is that guys have different gimmicks.
Is this around the Undertaker or Home Team Sport? Why? Because the professor decided to make an analogy about sports? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that exhausted pretty much most of my ability to act authoritatively about sports.
There you go. So we're going to start with list.
Never use it again.
We're going to start with list number 1, Keith, and I will go through them one at a time. Or the top 10 WWE Intercontinental Champions. This is purely based on longevity of their title reigns, the amount of title reigns they had, public opinion matters, and professional opinion matters. I compiled these lists all day using several different websites, using several different things, because if you go and you Google it, you're going to get, some article from 2014, and that doesn't have any title reigns after that. So I had to really take my time and be, as kind of fine-tooth comb with it as I possibly could. But I don't mean any disrespect to anybody not mentioned. By the way, speaking of honorable mentions, I'm going to get them out of the way first. These are the people who will not be on this list before you come at me with, where's this person, where's that person? In no particular order, Keith. China, because she's the first ever and only woman who won the Intercontinental title. Yeah, Bret the Hitman Hart, the Ultimate Warrior, who beat a 400-day champion, and Dolph Ziggler, who is a 6-time champion. They are not on this top 10 list.
Yeah, that's fair.
So those are honorable mentions. China, Bret the Hitman Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Dolph Ziggler. They are conspicuous by their absence on this list. And again,
Bret's not really known, I think, as an Intercontinental Champion anymore. So I think that's what makes that fair.
Right. So we're going to start off with number, and I want you to, we're going to go through each one, and I want you to comment on each one.
Oh, I will.
And then when we get to the end, I want you to tell me who was left out or who shouldn't be on that list. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sound fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 10 is Pat Patterson. He's on the list because he was the first ever Intercontinental Champion.
And he has to be on the list because if Pat sucks at it, if Pat's no good, if the title doesn't get over, you're done.
Right.
Pat was, people don't realize because of how long ago it was. Most of us are born I think the oldest people I know of are like the late 70s.
Yeah.
And Pat stopped wrestling early 80s.
He's before my time even.
Yeah, I mean, Pat really stopped in like the 80s. People might have seen the Alley fight, but there's not a lot of other stuff that WWE has pushed with Pat. And then
you turned me on to that documentary. What is that called? My Life?
My Way.
My Way.
Yeah, it's a great documentary WWE put together.
On the network. Check it out.
Definitely check it out.
All right, number 9. The Honky Tonk Man. who
No.
won the title and had the title for 400 days, 400 days.
And
I
proves
thought
proves that the length of having a title does not mean you're great at being a champion.
he calls himself the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
I would too. But here's the thing. You tell a lie long enough, but not everybody going to believe it.
I loved Honky. I really did. I thought he was a great heel at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when you have all these giants, when you have at the time, when you have the Big John Studs and the Andre the Giants and the King Kong Bundys of the world, you had the Honky Tonk Man as your Intercontinental Champion, and he held on to that title as long as he could.
Wrestle him. They were there to wrestle Hogan.
I understand that, but he did what he had to do.
Yeah, all the scheming, screwing Ted DiBiase out of a world title run.
Right. Wouldn't let the Macho Man beat him for the title, right? All those stories you hear.
You should be happy about that one. That's how your boy got his title run.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him later. But how about the Ultimate Warrior beating him at SummerSlam finally, right?
Yeah, because they needed somebody that if Honky tried to be an asshole and do something wrong, Warrior would have killed him. I'm not saying Warrior's the toughest man in the world, but I'm saying if I put that guy against Honky, I'd be pretty confident that Warrior could just destroy him if he.
And he got the job done. So then number 8 on the list is The Rock.
Yeah, I mean,
rather low on the list, but I think it's because he's known more for his world heavyweight title reigns more than his Intercontinental title reign.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was pretty obvious at the time, too. That was a stepping stone. That was, let's see what he looks like with a title. They were getting him ready for the big time. And I mean, yeah, I think he's at the exact right place on that.
And most people forget his first title reign. He was still Rocky Maivia.
That's why they forget it. Because they try to forget Rocky Maivia. Because Rocky Maivia was terrible.
Rocky sucks. That's where the Rocky sucks chant came from.
Yep, because that gimmick was bad.
That just goes to show you guys, you keep trying because Rocky Maivia was booed out of every arena he was in, and he became The Rock. So keep perfecting your craft.
And pray that somebody opens up a company that can actually be competitive with Vince. Because then he'll stop doing stupid shit like Rocky Maivia.
Number 7 on the list, Keith, is Triple H.
Yeah, that's fair. Great worker, was, again, a good stepping stone for him. He had some good runs. He was right there in the mix. Before you were ready to shoot him through, that's the kind of guy you would want in that Intercontinental title role. Yep. Because he could get other people ready. He could improve himself. Yeah, that's the perfect kind of guy for a mid-level champion.
All right, Alan's ready to join us. Do you want him in?
Yeah, okay. I know he's going to just say everything is wrong, but...
What's up, Big Al?
I'm surprised that Keith agreed to letting me in. I thought he was going to say no.
If I said no, he'd just do it anyway for the spite.
All right, Alan. So we're doing the top 10 WWE Intercontinental Champions of all time. So far, number 10, Pat Patterson. Number 9, Honky Tonk Man. Number 8, The Rock. And number 7 is Triple H.
Did you mutually agree to these, or did you make the list and you're just having Keith go yay or no?
I'm not having Keith go yay or no. I'm having Keith have his opinion on each one. And at the end of the list, I want to know, and I want to know from you too.
Also, wait, 9 was Honky?
9 was Honky.
Yeah.
I know who my number 1 is, but we'll get
Well,
there.
wait. When we get to the end, I want you to tell me what you disagree with and who was not on the list that belongs on the list and who was on the list that doesn't.
Is this the first title that we've done, or is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
Intercontinental champions.
We have
Pat Patterson, Honky Tonk Man, The Rock, Triple H, and number 6 is Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Should be on the list. I think he should be higher.
Okay. Alan, what do you think?
I think he should be higher.
Higher than number 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5, Mr. Perfect.
I think he should be higher than 5 too. He was such a defining
number 1
because he's a guy that defined his era.
That's number
AJ
1.
says 90-year-old Jericho is going to be on the list
Because Jericho was 90 when he had.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't 90 years old then, and doing freaking bad lion salts. And
Yeah, I saw that. Oh my god, that was terrible.
Possibly.
On the last Botchamania,
He's lucky he didn't break his full neck.
A bunch of stupid.
I don't think he can do lion salts anymore.
I don't think he can do much of anything anymore except open his mouth and embarrass
All right,
himself.
number 4 is The Miz.
Accuse me of being biased for Chris Jericho again. I dare you.
You're biased towards anything AW, so that would make sense.
Wait, we're not talking AEW. It's strictly WWE, son. All right,
No,
number 4. Number 4 is The Miz. He is a 6-time Intercontinental Champion.
No, go to hell with that. No,
I wouldn't put him this high, but I'd have him on the list.
I could see that. I could see
Batman
him as like number 10. Yeah, I could see Miz as like number 10 by fingertips.
Okay.
But not number 4. Come on.
All right.
I mean, who's a better IC champ of this era?
Well, hold on. This is top 10 all time.
Okay, well then keep going.
Number 3, Chris Jericho.
That'd be my number 2.
Jericho's a 9-time champion.
Yeah, I mean, I could see at 3. I could see the argument for 2. So, I mean, to me, I think he's kind of right about where he should be. But I think he should be
Number
under.
2, number 2, you're going to argue with, but you know I'm not, is the Macho Man Randy Savage.
No.
He should be on the list.
Let me explain.
He should be in the top 5.
He only ever had 1 reign. But he ranks 6th all time in total days.
Yeah. And he had the feud with Steamboat, which had some of the best matches ever that way. He got himself and he got the belt over. That's why I say he's top 5. I don't think he's number 2.
So you think he's lower?
I think he's
You think he's lower than the Miz?
I think he's 4 or 5. Like
lower than Perfect?
Perfect.
Yes.
In my opinion.
What was that?
Yeah, I think he's lower than Perfect.
Al, we can't hear you. Get closer to your phone.
I'm trying. I want to put my headphones in, but my phone's charging.
Okay.
Perfect's number 1 in my opinion.
Perfect's number 1. Okay.
I can see it, but I have to hear who else is on the list.
And the number 1 Intercontinental Champion of all time is Pedro Morales, who held the title for over 600 days.
Pedro, there's a great argument for. I haven't seen him work versus everybody else. Pedro is kind of
amazing.
Like,
it's on the network. Check it out.
Yeah, I gotta watch more Pedro Morales. I know Pedro Morales was a huge draw, big Latin superstar, which WWE was pushing the ethnicity and the territory. Is he number 1 though? I'd say there's a great case for it. But I would push, like I say, I would take Miz and I would put him at number 10. I would move.
I thought you were going to boot Miz from the list.
Actually, I will, because where the fuck is Scott Hall on this list? Scott Hall should be on this list.
That's what I wanted. I wanted omission.
Where's the Ultimate Warrior?
He was an honorable mention.
Warrior should be off and Hall should be on.
I say
because Warrior only had that belt as a look at him with a belt, get him ready for the WWE title.
Right. Go ahead, Alan.
I say Mr. Perfect's number 1 because the whole point of these it's a mid-card title, but when Perfect held it, it didn't feel like a mid-card title because Perfect was that good of a worker.
Was Bruno ever the Intercontinental Champion there, bud?
No.
Big Joe, we're going to get to him later.
Because Mr. Perfect, when he had matches with the IC title, they were built like world title matches because Perfect was that good of a worker.
Right.
And nowadays, the IC title is a mid-card title. It's given to someone just to have it. Keith often talks about how he hates how mid-card titles are used nowadays.
Yeah, because it doesn't really get anybody over because the title isn't over.
Phone died. Who was number 1? Pedro Morales, Anthony. Pedro Morales had the IC title for over 600 days.
Perfect's title runs with the IC title were great because he made that belt feel like it was for a world champion. So
his match, you know how people talk about the greatest matches of all time? Often downplayed is his match with Brett at SummerSlam 90. I think it's 90, 91, something like that.
Because whenever
it was
great
90,
match.
it might have been 91. It was I think it was Bulldog first, and then the next year. So it's whenever they went to England, and then the next year.
Yeah,
But
Brett versus
that match.
I mean,
does
Brett versus Bulldog was good, but Brett versus Perfect at SummerSlam was one of the best matches ever.
Brett versus Bulldog was good because it was his cousin, and Brett walked him through it for the most part.
Catch up, Anthony. Go back and watch the video. We're moving on to the tag teams.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes in and we have like 8 titles to go through. We gotta keep going.
But,
we're going through 3.
Scott Hall is not on this list and is not an honorable mention. Fuck this list.
Means we shouldn't be spending more
Joe
than
Dudley. What about Tito Santana? Good point. Honorable mention, definitely.
that means we're spending more than 10 minutes for a title. Let's get moving.
No, we're going 20 minutes for title. Relax. All right, we're moving on. You can't. You're live. Then watch it later. He says, "Can't. You're live. I can't go back. You're live." I know. All right. The top 3. The top 3 were Pedro Morales, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Chris Jericho. There you go.
And they need to move down the list.
Okay. Let's move on.
They don't need to move off. They just need to move down.
To the WWE Tag Team Champions. And I don't mean the World Tag Team Champions, Alan. I mean the WWE Tag Team Champions. So get away from me with your Harlem Heats of the world or anybody else, because we're talking strictly WWE Tag Team Champions.
I have my number 1.
Yeah, it's not the Young Bucks. They never had that title.
Why do you always assume I'm AEW oriented? They're not even the topic of today's discussion.
Correct.
It's true.
Fuck Jericho.
No, that's a shot he didn't deserve.
Anthony hates fuck Jericho.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You can't, like I say, you got to judge it by history. You can't judge it by somebody is doing stupid shit now or somebody has stayed
Very good.
past their time or any of that stuff. When Chris Jericho was the Intercontinental Champion, Chris Jericho is a top 5 Intercontinental Champion because he was.
Rock and sock connection.
All
right.
I swear to God, I know that's going to be on this fucking list, or it's going to.
No, he's not. No, they're not. They are not.
Oh,
They are not. They are not.
That was not a real tag team.
Where the hell is Alan?
I'm moving locations.
Okay, he's moving locations.
All
right. I'm going to start the tag teams. All right, we got to get this going. Number 10, Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane.
No.
Got it.
It's not a real tag team to me.
No.
I know they had a run. I know they had a king, but it was funny stuff. It
was
to me, that's not a real tag team.
That was a comedy. They went to Angry Crowd. Hey,
For the same, you're taking Team Hell No off for the same reason that Rock and Sock should not be on there too.
Yeah,
Right?
it's not a real tag team to me.
Okay.
It's a comedy gimmick. No.
Number 9, Miz and Morrison.
That's more see. They were pretty decent back in the day.
They're
They
decent.
still are.
They
I'm
top
gonna
10
say-
of all time? No.
I'm going to say this before we go on. If Miz and Morrison's number 9, is Eminem above them anywhere?
No, there are honorable mentions.
That's
That's
bullshit.
garbage.
Eminem was better
That's
than
bullshit.
All right,
Eminem was
I'll give you the
better.
honorable mentions. Honorable mentions not on the list. Eminem, Money Inc., the Wild Samoans, and the Usos.
That's bullshit. The Wild Samoans not on a list is goddamn bullshit. There's a bullshit list.
I didn't make
I'm
it.
sorry, it's a bullshit list.
I didn't make it.
I know, but I'm saying it's a bullshit list, and the author is clearly a moron.
All right, I didn't. It wasn't one person. It was several collaborations.
it was Meltzer.
Several idiots collaborated together, so now we know how
Right.
the answer to how many idiots it takes to make a bad tag team.
Number 8, the
Not bad.
Legion of Doom.
Okay, they should be higher.
Yeah, they should be a bit higher. Yeah,
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're factoring WWE and not WCW here.
Right.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's why I say 8. If you're just gonna go for WWE, it makes sense because the majority of their run was elsewhere, and by the time they got there, it was more like, holy shit, the Road Warriors
Right.
are in WWE.
Right.
The Legion of Doom now.
Number 7, the Hart Foundation.
Yes, they should probably be higher.
Higher.
I think they should be in the top 5 at
Oh.
least.
Yeah,
Number 6 is a tie between Demolition and the British Bulldogs.
I don't see why there'd be a tie. You could just.
I don't see why that should be a tie, especially because some of the rest of this list, like I say, I just saw 2 teams that shouldn't be on it. So
Yeah.
Number 5, the New Day.
Ridiculous.
The New Day.
Not that high.
Yes.
Real tag team, yes.
They're
Should be
8-time
on-
champs.
I think they should be on the list, yes.
Because you
They should not be that high.
can't just talk about the past.
Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. I like it,
No,
Charles. Yes.
No, again, listen to what I said. They should be on the list. They absolutely belong on the list. I don't think they should be that high.
Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas should be on this list, and unfortunately, they are not.
Because over the past couple of years, the New Day has been the best tag team.
Well, yeah, they're an era-defining team. That's why I say they should be on the list. They are the defining team of their era.
Number
that
4.
should matter, and that should count whether I like them or not.
Number 4, the New Age Outlaws.
Not that high.
Not that high, but yeah.
Era-defining team should be on the list. Not that high.
Yeah.
Number 3, Edge and Christian.
That's my number 1.
Era-defining team.
That's my number 1.
I think they're top
10.
5. I don't know that they should be that high, but I would have a hard time arguing against it if somebody really pushed it.
Number 2, the Hardy Boys.
I knew they'd be on here eventually.
I think the Hardy Boys should be potentially tied with Edge and Christian, because one of the things with them is if you go purely WWE, the Dudleys and Edge and Christian define their era and are so linked
He
together.
wants Rock and Sock in there so bad.
How is he going to say Jericho sucks and then push for Rock and Sock connection?
Because he's a troll.
Standard delusional giant.
And number 1 is the Dudley Boys.
I would high if we're doing strict to WWE.
Yeah.
If we're doing strictly WWE, I don't know that I can justify it. I love the Dudleys.
Yeah,
I think the Dudleys may well be the greatest tag team of
all time.
They're the greatest heel team I've ever seen because they could get heat in the modern era. They could get heat off of smart fans. I don't think purely on their WWE run, they should be number 1.
Yeah.
I could argue 2 or 3, though, because they're an era-defining team, and they also
Anthony.
No, and he's got a point there too.
He does not, because they never won the tag team championship. The list is the top 10 WWE tag team champs.
Well, now wait a minute. They did win the tag team titles. It just wasn't acknowledged, and it wasn't on TV.
House show.
I think it was a house show, and they didn't acknowledge the title change.
Yeah, you know what's funny? They individually won the tag titles too with different partners.
No, but they won them together. It was a change that was never acknowledged.
Okay. Hi, Morgan.
You're right. They never won they were never acknowledged as winning the titles. They're still not acknowledged as winning the titles, so they can't go on the list. And even if they had won the titles, they would have held it for what, 30 seconds? 5 minutes? I mean, the Rockers were a great team, but if you go purely WWE again, and that's what this list is, the Rockers don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go to the WWE champions of all time, let me remind you that today's episode of Around the Turnbuckle is sponsored by Mom and Pop CBD and Wellness Shop. When it comes to natural relief, turn to Dr. Brown CBD. Dr. Brown CBD uses the latest scientific knowledge and experienced professionals to create top-of-the-line CBD products at affordable prices. Go to momandpopcbdshop.com to order your stuff, or go to one of their 5 locations: Easton, Wind Gap, Bechtelsville, Hackettstown, New Jersey, or Washington, New Jersey. Tell them the Big Albowski sent you.
And before we go to the WWE Champions list, let's do the sad news, and then we'll go back to having
We have sad news?
We do. We had a passing this week.
We did. Who?
We did. Rusty Brooks wrestled for a number of promotions over the course of his career. Just turned 63 a couple days ago. Worked as an enhancement talent. God bless the Carpenters. With Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, worked the WWF in the mid 80s.
I'm with you, Charles.
They should get at least an honorable mention, I think.
Definitely. APA should definitely get an honorable mention. So should, and like I said, this top 10 list is not our, I mean, if Keith and I and Alan worked on it together.
Oh, that shit would look very different.
Very differently. Okay. This is not the opinion of Around the Turnbuckle. This is the internet opinion.
On the internet.
Yeah, like that one time Braun Strowman won it with that one kid. That was a great run. I would put that at least top.
And Rusty Brooks. Yes. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah. So I just want to, again, just keep going over his career, because really a guy that, the newer fans, you may not know, but he was also a trainer, and you probably know some of his students. He broke in Gangrel.
Fuji and Tanaka. Good one. Good one, Joe.
Yeah, Fuji and Tanaka, too. Again, another criminal why they aren't on the list.
Good honorable mention.
Yeah. He broke in Gangrel. He broke in Norman Smiley. He broke in Luna Vachon. He broke in Connor of the Ascension. He broke in MVP.
The Ascension.
So, they can't all be winners, but one of them, he trained one half of, the greatest tag team that couldn't miss, would have never missed.
All right.
He's not watching this. That joke's going to fall flat.
But
I just want to point that out. Very big in the Florida wrestling scene over the last few years. A mentor figure, which, much love to that. Gave back to the business. Sadly, just turned 63. So we definitely want to give condolences to his family, to his friends, to his fans.
How did he die, Keith?
Let me see. He had recently undergone a surgery, it says, a few weeks ago, and had been dealing with some health issues. I don't have a cause of death. Nothing's been made public yet that I've seen.
Alan looks like The Rock right now.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure that, we acknowledge that, because we acknowledge, these guys in the business, especially the people that made a huge impact like Rusty did, but people aren't really aware of it. I mean, if you look at the list of people he trained, for God's sake.
Exactly.
Really great back.
Exactly. So let's get to the next list, which is the top 10
the last list. My God.
WWE champions of all time.
Are we ignoring women's or U.S. title? We're not doing either of those.
Well, when we started,
we're ignoring that.
When we started the show, Alan, you weren't here, and I said we're not going to talk about the U.S. title because that title started in WCW. So we're going to have a different show about that title. Also, we have a whole Around the Turnbuckle special dedicated to From the Fabulous Moolah to Becky Lynch. And if you haven't seen it, go on 2M1L Media. It's on there. Scroll down. It's on one of our videos.
And also, too, if you look at that, because Moolah controlled the belt for so long and then Mildred Burke controlled the belt for so long, there's a large gap of time where you will have no one on the list prior to now except for Moolah, Mildred Burke, and
when in
Medusa
doubt,
probably.
COVID, yeah.
All
right, so so that we're at the top 10 WWE champions of all time. Again, this is not the collective opinion of Around the Turnbuckle. This is just to spark debate. So have at it. But I'm just going to read this list anyway. I worked on it for an hour. I used several different websites. I used fact check in the end.
So this
and in the end, to take all emotion and talent and all the different things all the facets to this that you could throw in there, and how much money they drew and blah, blah, blah. I went strictly on ranking them from 10 to 1 on how many total days they had the WWE Championship.
So this is all statistics, not opinion.
This particular list is yes, but you can still argue it.
I'm going to.
I know you will.
Totally. If it's all just statistics.
Number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin held the title for 529 total days and 6 reigns.
Higher.
He's the top 5.
Top 5.
He's top 5.
He defined his era.
Top 3.
He's one of the great.
Come on, Little Al, catch up, Anthony says.
He's the greatest draw of all time.
Mhm.
Monetarily, he should be top 5.
Number 9, Triple H held it for 609 total days, 9 reigns.
Top 5.
Yeah, what? 10. You heard what I said.
I'm not saying top 5.
Okay,
Top 6.
Triple H.
Not a top 5. Triple H is the guy that works with the guy that makes the money.
Mhm.
So he's like the 1A kind of champion.
Oh, here we go.
I could see putting him on the top 10 there. What?
Alan said, "Oh, here we go."
No,
Come on, Alan. What do you got to say about Triple H being on the list?
Triple H okay, I'll be and say that his title runs weren't the most spectacular
No, they weren't.
compared to others. But I don't know. I wouldn't make him number 9. Actually, that might make sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, he's about where he should be if he's on a top 10 list.
Number 8 with 654 total days champion and 5 reigns, Bret the Hitman Hart.
That's about right.
Yeah,
Funk, what's up? What's up, Funk? Triple H was a transitional champion.
yeah, exactly. He's the guy. He's the guy that gets the belt when you need the heel to have the belt for the baby face.
Well, then he had it a lot.
We had it a lot too because there was that point where Vince was like, "I'm going to make my son-in-law Ric Flair, and I'm going to put Ric Flair in his corner."
All right. Next, with 658 total days and 9 different reigns, Randy Orton.
I agree with that.
I don't put Orton on it. I don't know.
Because if you're arguing if the argument for Orton as to why he's not is because I would think it's because I'm going by era because I feel like you have to go by era with this.
I think you do too, and that's why I'm hesitating.
And in Orton's era, who'd you have along with him? You had Cena and Triple H and Batista and Edge.
Right. Edge.
So, but out of all of those guys, I mean, other than Cena, I really do think that Orton's up there in terms of title runs, especially.
And also you really have to say it's Batista, it's Orton, it's Cena because Edge and Triple H are holdovers from the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Like they kind of come into their own because all the other bigger stars are gone. Rock's gone to Hollywood. Austin's been injured. He's out. So they're kind of creating their opportunity that way.
Yeah.
Their era, though, is not – it's not a great money era, though. It's the same thing. I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Bret, where Bret is one of the top stars, if not the top star of the new generation era, which is the transitional point between – rock and wrestling is definitely over and business is in the toilet. And you have then the Attitude Era comes and business skyrockets. And then you're at where you're at now where it's all cooling down from that and nobody's really making huge waves. So I don't know. I think I'd have to hear what the rest of the list is.
Number 6 with 730 total days, 5 reigns, Brock Lesnar.
No.
Such hate.
No, it's not even just hate. Look, like we talked about, defining an era, right? What is Brock Lesnar?
Superstar Billy Graham.
Graham was a transitional champion.
Yeah, well, he's not on the list, but honorable mention.
Honorable mention, but Graham was a transitional champion. Graham was ahead of his time. And Graham was working for the wrong promoter because Senior took that belt, and everybody knows it, took that belt from San Martino, gave it to Graham, so Graham could give it to Backlund. That's what Graham's role was.
I see where I know where he's going to come from on Lesnar because it's the point we just made. Is if it's hard to not go by era, and Lesnar's era when he was in his prime was so oversaturated with other better talent than him.
Yes,
coming to mind, Kurt Angle, and
No for Brock. Tell him, Big Joe.
I'm not shitting on Brock's talent, to be fair. I just look at it like Brock Lesnar was the rookie that was getting the
If the Miz isn't on the list, that's broken. Yeah.
You're broken.
Shut up.
Brock was the guy that was getting the rocket strapped to him, and they were definitely going to make him the franchise.
Yeah.
And they were working on it, and they were in the middle of it, and then he got the boo-boo face, and the I don't want to travel, and I don't want to do stuff, and I want to go to my farm and chuck wood around, and, I mean, he's only back there now because, he married a very expensive woman that doesn't want to be on the farm and chucking wood around and stuff like that.
All right.
But anyway, so, I mean, Brock, to me, didn't make the impact, and they're giving it to him now because of the shit he did in UFC.
Yeah,
And this is where the days statistic is crap because his days are so long because he wins it and then he goes away for 3 months.
All right. With number 5, with 1,027 total days champion with 1 reign is Pedro Morales.
I mean, Pedro should be on the list.
That's over 3 years.
Because Pedro was right there with, like, San Martino. Like what San Martino was for Italians, Pedro was that for Latinos
Puerto Rico
and whatnot, and Puerto Rico. So, I mean, Pedro should absolutely be on the list. I don't know if he should be top 5. Maybe he should. Yeah, you know what? I think he should probably be top 5. So, yeah, I can't really argue with that. I think
number 4. I want to hear from Alan first on purpose, and that is with 1,254 total reigns and 13 reigns is John Cena.
1,000. That's a lot of reigns. 1,000 reigns, you said?
No, 1,254 total days champ.
Like 1,000 reigns.
John Cena, in my opinion, is top 3 because as much as Keith will disagree all he wants, John Cena has been only as of a couple of years ago has been.
I'm insane, or Alan, or Keith.
John Cena has been the champion for like 15 to 20 years. Because like 15 years, not 20.
Because he's the fallback guy.
And like he just, it's hard to really put into words what he's done for the title because he was the guy for so long. Because like he was because when people talk about generations, if you talk about like if you break down WWE into 3 eras, like Gold Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age,
right?
You have, like, Hulk Hogan was the number 1 star back then, biggest draw. And then you have like Stone Cold. It was like number 1 biggest draw.
Yes.
Stadiums were full for, arenas were full for Hogan, full for Austin, and then they were full for Cena. That was those 3. Cena is easily the best champion of the entire time he was there, pretty much. The entire time he was there.
He made a huge impact, whether Keith likes it or not.
And he was Mr. WWE. My argument is that Cena could have been more. But Cena, we don't know what Cena could have really, I think, been because Vince decided that's my new Hulk Hogan. That's what he's going to be. And I think wound up doing him a disservice, which I know is crazy for people to think that, like, what the fuck are you talking about? He made him, a multi-millionaire. He's in Hollywood making more millions now. Like, he had the title for 10 years or so. He's easily going to go down as, an era-defining champion. But I just think his era could have been more successful if
Cena had a heel run like Hogan. It would have been epic. I agree.
I don't even know that it needed to be a heel run. Everybody goes back to that and is like, he needed to be a heel. No, you know what he needed to be.
He did. Dr. Thugonomics.
He was a heel.
But they're saying after he became the Saffron
Okay.
Because everybody wanted like Hulk Hogan turns heel and I get to jizz about like I'm growing up and I get to watch all the little kids, cry and drink their tears or whatever the fuck, those horrible. But I mean, Cena could have been more of what he was when he got over organically, where it was a little more edgy. The rap stuff that was a little more edgy, and again, I think they could have still kept it PG, but I think Cena could have been more and could have drawn more. And I think that's one of the things about John Cena that, is a problem. As great as everything was, and he was a company guy and he did everything he was supposed to do, but he came up in the era where it was really falling off the rails, where Vince was getting to what it is now, and what it is now is clearly on a decline.
Number 3 with 2,083 total days and 4 separate reigns as champion is Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
Yeah, Backlund defines his era. Backlund made a lot of money. Backlund gets forgotten because he's between San Martino and Hogan.
Yeah.
But Backlund drew. Backlund mattered. Backlund was great.
He was back.
It mattered when Backlund, endorsed Hogan. When Bob Backlund said,
you got to remember AJ's age when he's saying Bob Backlund's horrible.
When Bob Backlund said he's good now, it's funny now, but back then, that was like the stamp of approval on Hogan, that it was okay to like Hogan now. And he had a great second act. Those matches with Bret are great. And he completely reinvented himself.
In the 90s, when he came back in the 90s.
Yeah, he completely reinvented himself. So, I mean,
Mr. Backlund.
How many guys can do that?
Number 2 with 2,185 and total days and 6 reigns, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, you have to put Hulk Hogan on a list.
Hogan just died.
Hulk Hogan is the guy that, he popularized wrestling. He is wrestling to a lot of people still, even today. He is the guy that the national
should have been part of the Bushwhackers. I think he means. I think he means Bob Backlund.
No.
Hulk Hogan. Yeah, Alan, what do you got to say about the Hulk?
The guy, he had the national expansion on his back.
I already made my Hulk Hogan point and the Cena point. You have 3 guys. My top 3 are Hogan, Austin, and Cena. Not in that order, but those are the top 3, because if you break down wrestling and do its simplest of eras, the gold, silver, and bronze age, the old, the like not so old, and like it was old, new, and then future. But now I break it down in those 3 eras. You have Hogan was the arena filler, Austin the arena filler, Cena's the arena filler.
Well, there was a guy, Alan, that was filling arenas before Hulk Hogan, and he is number 1, and his name is Bruno Sammartino. I'm
aware of that, but wrestling, but see, Sammartino's name isn't brought up when you talk about back then. People will instantly jump to Hogan because that's what all people.
Well, anybody that's under 30 jumps to Hogan.
Yeah.
Well, anybody that's under 40 jumps to Hogan.
No, I jumped to Sammartino. Anybody over 40 knows who Sammartino was.
Watch him wrestle?
He had 4, not at the end of his career, yes.
Yeah, because he had that run where he came back because his kid
4,040 days.
Trying to help him.
Alan, 2 reigns. He was only champion twice, but he had it for over 4,000 days.
I'm just saying that The Rock wasn't in this list. And, as AJ just said. Yeah. Also, Stone Cold is in this list, but Jericho beat them both in the same night. He should be number 1. And
I don't have an AEW bias. I don't have any AEW bias. I'm so biased and oriented to AEW.
My top 3 would.
I also think Brett should be on the list. I think Brett was left out of the list too.
I wouldn't put Brett in top 10 WWE champions.
Oh no, he was in the list. He was number 8. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nope.
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
I was thinking somebody else. Shawn Michaels.
As great as Shawn Michaels was a bad champion.
He wasn't champion for very long.
No, he was champion for a while. He had it from WrestleMania until Survivor Series that year.
Yeah, but that's only a few months. We're talking like these guys have had it total for a couple years.
Well, because Sean was mentally destroyed and was a drug addict at that point.
What about
That's why Brett went away.
Goldberg's WCW, moron?
Oh, no,
Also, just
AJ,
no.
AJ is right. He did win it recently. He beat Lesnar for it. That was great.
How about the Undertaker?
No.
I'm gonna go no because Taker doesn't need it.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like
right.
it was a hat on a hat.
You're right. You're right. Okay.
No CM Punk.
No CM Punk.
No CM Punk.
I got some honorable mentions if you want to hear them.
You're saying of all time, I love Punk.
Honorable mentions is The Rock,
Yes.
Macho Man Randy Savage,
No.
CM Punk, AJ Styles.
Ew.
I don't see AJ.
Well, but AJ had it for 511 days.
okay.
CM Punk had it for 462 days. The Rock had it for 367 over 8 reigns. And the Macho Man had it for 520 days over 2 reigns.
You know, Jinder Mahal wasn't mentioned, and I'm offended.
Jinder Mahal,
You know what I'm offended
I apologize.
by? You know what I'm offended by on this?
What?
Nobody said Buddy Rogers.
And why? Why are you offended?
Because here's the thing. Okay, here's how I would do this list, right? You want to do, to me, you got to do most money in their era because era matters, right? So I can't stop putting his comments up.
He's a troll. I can't.
And you
I
control
can't
the
help it.
comments.
He's
Well,
funny.
no. Do you
Anyway.
not filling my role? I can't troll because I'm on the show. So like it's. Yeah.
No, he didn't say Jolly Ranchers. All right. We got 10 minutes left, guys. We got one more. I got a bonus list.
U.S. title
And that is the goats of goats.
for what?
For anything.
You realize this bonus list like destroys the thing you've been saying all show about, like we're not going to cover other companies, we're not going to cover other champions. And now you're like, oh, we have 10 minutes left. Let's totally explicitly break the thing I said we weren't going to do.
You got the A+ score, so you get the bonus.
We get the bonus.
You unlocked the bonus level by finding all 5 secret pages in the stage.
Okay.
That tag.
The
title
real nature boy,
not A+.
Buddy Rogers. Charles bringing up Buddy Rogers for you. Chief J Strongbow.
Nature boy. I know he's WCW.
Was Strongbow WWE champion, Keith?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Yeah, I remember him being a tag guy. And
Strongbow was one of those guys that was like.
see, if we were talking greatest of all time, greatest wrestler of all time.
If you're talking about like most important people to WWE, just period, most important, yeah, Strongbow's on that list.
Austin, Hogan, Cena, Taker, Flair. That's AJ's top 5.
I know he's WCW, but Flair was not mentioned at all for this either.
Because if you just go by pure WWE, again, it's like Demolition. It's like you're
Right.
or not Demolition. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he could have been promo.
The Legion of Doom. You know, it's like, wow, they won the WWE title, but you're happy about it because you know what they've done everywhere else. If they had to come in cold, they would still be memorable and remembered, but they wouldn't be on a greatest of all time list because they
All right.
weren't.
Do you want I have 2 different goat of goat lists, guys. Do you want the WWE one first or the all-time anywhere list first? And the all-time anywhere list is ranked by number of championships, singles championships, not tags, singles championships that they won in their whole careers.
I don't know. Ask Keith.
All right, so the
I
WWE
disagree with a ton of them. So
the WWE list goes like this: number 5, Triple H; number
No.
4, Chris Jericho; number 3,
No.
The Rock;
Yes.
number 2,
yeah,
John Cena; number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Argument can be made. The bottom 2, fuck no.
Yes, absolutely.
Fuck no.
100%.
All right,
Fuck no.
that's the WWE list. Now the Goat of Goats list
So we can
is
speak
based on how many singles titles they've won
across all companies.
across all companies. Number 5 with 23 total singles titles is Triple H.
No.
No.
Number 4 with 28 singles titles is Chris Jericho.
Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
Number 3 with 25 singles titles is Booker T.
Okay.
I love
Number
Booker
two-
T, but not a greatest of all time. No.
Yeah, but if you add his tag titles in there too,
Here's the problem with doing it with titles, and I said it off the air, and I'm not trying to offend any of the workers on here, but I think
RVD, Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, Undertaker. I like it.
But I mean, you do not win a
Because he won
championship.
titles.
You do not win a championship the way someone in a legitimate combat sport wins a
I
championship.
understand that, but you
You
were
went down for each
for a
other.
reason. This is where you and I differ. You can't discredit somebody because he had.
No, but I
20
can't make that the sole statistic either, because if it's about how many
Jericho's on these
times-
lists because he was a 9-time Intercontinental Champion. There's a reason why you keep putting it on that guy.
Yeah, because they passed the belt around like a hot potato, and he was one of the most dependable guys.
All right, you tell that to Chris Jericho.
He deserves to be considered one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions ever.
Number
But
two,
beyond that,
number two is Ric Flair,
yeah, you can make that argument for a
and
lot of
number
reasons.
one is Edge
Yes.
Come on, I
with
love
31
Edge.
championships.
I mean, he's great. He's absolutely amazing.
I love Edge, but
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way.
He's about to win it again, which is pretty great. So
9-time asshole. Yeah.
Chris Jericho has
This
been
is why I hate the goddamn internet
has
for
been in
wrestling so much.
every company he's been to.
This
So-
whole thing was to troll you both. It was so much fun.
It really clearly was.
I would have been
Because
number one.
Because here's how I look at it. It's a
Yeah.
business. So you got to look at who makes the most money.
Me.
And to me, if you're going to do like the top 5 WWF, WWE champions, to me, you got to do Buddy Rogers, because Buddy Rogers' star power and name is what makes the title matter in the first place. Because at that point, the NWA had a monopoly, and it was ballsy as shit for Vince McMahon to try to go out there and say, nope, my regional title is equivalent to the title that Lou Thez and Gene Kiniski and Harley Race and the Funks and all these other guys are out there
Did you say
defending.
Gene Snitsky?
No, Gene Kiniski.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's not his fault.
You know, so he gets it started.
You feel
Bruno-
trolled. You were trolling the whole show, jackass.
Can I just
Then you got to give it to Bruno, because Bruno built the territory, and Bruno's actually the only guy that breaks what I just said about people laying down, because he told Buddy Rogers when they went out there, because they fucking hated each other, go out there and do your best, because I'm going to do my best, which was Bruno telling him, we're going to shoot. And that's
Again,
why.
these lists were not the opinions of anybody on this panel.
No, I'm just telling people for what it's worth, what they care about. This is my top 5. And you can
Who's the
just-
greatest? All right, Anthony, who's the greatest $1 million champion of all time?
Virgil,
Ted DiBiase.
Virgil, easily.
Virgil,
Easily Virgil. No,
by far.
see, I disagree with all these
He
lists.
won it.
Listen, I disagree
Ted
with
DiBiase bought it. Virgil won it.
I disagree with all these lists. My IC champ of all time, number 1 would have been Cody Rhodes' U.S. title.
Cody Rhodes,
US,
AEW,
US,
Yeah.
US title, Dean Ambrose easily. Jericho,
Dean Ambrose,
very easily.
tag champions,
Tag titles, the Revival, they were
the
great.
Revival, right?
I mean, I think these are.
Oh yeah, Austin was $1 million champion. There you go.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah, it's true.
Is he
was.
better than Virgil?
Ted DiBiase Jr. was too. We can't forget him.
Ted DiBiase Jr. But
Yeah.
Austin was not. Austin didn't win it either.
Yep,
The
he was
million-
awarded it because it was Ted DiBiase's property.
We
So
didn't do
guess what?
either.
Out of those, are those the only 4 that those are the only 4 that I can recall?
I think those are the only 4 that ever had it. Because
Okay, Virgil's the only one that actually won it.
What about the hardcore title or the 21st
No.
title?
No, we're not talking about that because then Raven would be the greatest of all time.
on your let's use bullshit metrics, and the hardcore title
It's not my bullshit metrics.
It is a bullshit metric because the hardcore title
But it's
proves
not mine.
why going by title reigns in wrestling is ridiculous.
I get it, but it really starts the debate, doesn't it?
What about the TV title?
It's like saying Tom Brady's the GOAT because he has 7 championships.
But But that's not the only reason why we're saying it, though, is it? Because we're saying because if you look at how he got them, the level of talent he played against,
No
and
one.
you can and like
Holly was the
like
best
I said
hardcore
at the
champion.
beginning, which you can make an
Crash.
argument for it, but I don't think he's the best.
Crash.
I like Road Dogg. I think Road Dogg is really
Road
underrated.
Dogg was a good hardcore champion. He
I mean,
actually
great
defended it in the
hardcore
ring.
I think.
What about
Yeah.
Kane
Mick Foley?
or Crash? It's
I
close.
think Foley didn't have it long enough.
What about the TV title, the European title, the internet?
They
title?
didn't have the TV title in WWE.
Okay, what about the internet title? What about that
The
one?
internet title was never defended
That was never defended.
I defended it like twice
He did not.
on his YouTube show.
on his YouTube show. Yes.
The greatest 24/7 champion is R-Truth. He has it 47 times.
No,
Yeah, that belt is designed for R-Truth.
Hardcore Holly. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. So I mean,
the European.
there's
Anthony
like,
says Triple H.
5 people.
Well, I would say European goes to William Regal, but that's okay.
Sheldon Benjamin.
I don't think Regal was there when the belt was still around.
Shane McMahon.
I researched this when I was in the car on the way to get here to do the show. All the lists said Regal was number 1 year.
Shawn Michaels won the European title too.
Oh,
Yeah, Shawn Michaels won it from Bulldog because, like I say, the European title was
for Europeans.
Bulldog, Michaels, Triple H. I forget who the fuck won it from Triple H. I think X-Pac and Shane were feuding over it at one point.
Yeah.
Then it was like Kurt Angle had it, D'Lo Brown had it, Al Snow had it because it got mixed in with the IC title for a minute, and then it was a prop to go with the hardcore title because I remember Al Snow was
I'll tell you guys what.
somehow involved in that. Like
these debates go on forever. They go on forever in sports. They go on forever in wrestling. That's why we watch wrestling.
No.
The next time we don't have a guest.
My argument is you can't use the same criteria for wrestling that you use for sports.
D'Lo was European champion too. That's right, Anthony.
He was.
All right. But the next time we don't have a guest on Around the Turnbuckle, we're going to bring Little Al back and we're going to talk about WCW.
How am I going to chime in there?
I was going to say, does he even remember WCW? He was born.
He has to start watching WCW right now.
Well,
His answer to that is going to be Goldberg. Everything's Goldberg. Goldberg.
Top.
The thing is Goldberg, Sting, and Jericho. So I don't know why you're even asking me. Those are the only things that matter.
I don't know. Same thing. Goldberg, the end. Right. So Anthony, right? Anthony is his answer to everything was tonight was Stone Cold, and then on WCW end it's Goldberg.
That's
it. They're the only two that exist because they're the bald guys in the black tights.
Yep.
Are you saying that AJ likes? Are you saying that AJ likes big, buff, bald guys?
That's basically what I'm telling you. Why do you think he likes me?
Do you wear black tights?
At the moment, no.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Tune in tomorrow when me and the professor are going to be interviewing Ja Cole from WXW and other independent. He moves around. He's an up and comer, and I hope he's on his way up. Working with the Wild Samoans, I'm sure he's got a leg up. We're going to talk to him about his career. Where is it going? Where has it been? LOL. Al knows my type. Alan, yeah, I know his type.
Yeah,
there it is.
There you go. It's nice. It's very, very hot.
Tune in tomorrow for that. We'll see. I'll see you guys also Tuesday on Home Team Sports at 6:00. Spitting with Spitter is also Wednesday at 8:00. For Knowledge with Chrissy is also tomorrow night at 8:00. Oh, Little Al, I'm sorry.
Well, hey, I'm just saying on Tuesday, Home Team Sports, if Shango or whoever can't show up, I'll be available. I'm just saying, I can.
Oh, you can give us some NBA insight? Yeah. Anthony would love that. Anthony would love NBA insight.
No, it's bullshit because Shango is the only one who talks about it and his opinion sucks. So I could actually give a legitimate NBA opinion on that show.
Bring it. Anytime you're available Tuesday night, brother, bring it.
I want to go on and discuss Premier League soccer. Liverpool cheats.
I got Phil's cousin or Phil's brother Jason wants to come on and talk NASCAR.
No.
I believe this redneck is the best at driving in a circle for 3 hours.
All right. You guys got any parting gifts? We're out of here.
yes, this list sucked.
Yeah, the tag team list is just the most atrocious thing.
Not a single.
And I've been dealing with the internet wrestling community for probably about 21 years at least now.
Is that
maybe
why?
a little before that?
Is that why?
When I tell you something is one of the worst things or the worst thing I've ever experienced, imagine how much ground that covers.
Not much.
And just so
Thanks,
you know,
Charles.
your generation is taking it to
Thanks
a
for
whole
tuning
new
in, Joe. Joe, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your comments. Anthony, thanks for all your trolling, you bastard. And we'll see you tomorrow night on Around the Turnbuckle.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh yeah! Woo! What? What? If you smell what the rock